Hey, everybody, hope you all are doing well, and welcome back to Michael's Matter. And I, of course, as always, am Michael. And today, as we sit here around mid March, millions of Americans across the country who had benefited immensely from the expanded SNAP and food stamps benefits programs are now heading towards a benefit cliff at the end of this month. This is because much of the pandemic era expanded benefits that folks got had their end date finalized by President Joe Biden when he signed the Consolidated Appropriation Act of 2023, which pretty much unwinds most, if not all, of the pandemic era benefits that millions of Americans relied on during the pandemic. With this end coming, we see both Republicans and Democrats rushing in to try to influence the way that the SNAP and food stamps program operate after the benefit cliff is hit. The Republicans in general are essentially trying to make it harder for communities to get increased food benefits, an attempt to force people back to work. At least that's their justification. But then there are the Democrats who are trying to scrape together enough money and resources at the state level to maintain much of the benefits boost that folks got over the last couple of years. Ironically, both the Dems and the Republicans, well, they essentially have the same problem with their proposal, which is each other. So today we are talking about some of the new proposals from both Republicans and Democrats that have come out with the looming SNAP and food stamps benefits cliff fast approaching, one program that could provide more food benefits by considering healthy fruits and vegetables as medication, and whether or not any of these solutions could make a difference in the post-pandemic era benefit world. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, you know what, if you find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And that way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. For now, let's get down to the video. All right, so let's start today by talking about the coming end of the pandemic-enhanced SNAP and food stamp benefits this month. In many states, the last of the expanded monthly benefits, so things like P-Ebt, pandemic EBT, or the flat $95 increase in food stamps, and the automatic maximization of all SNAP benefits for all eligible people, regardless of their income, they are now coming to an end as we push through the end of March, with this last payments from February being paid out now. Now, officially, the last month of SNAP enhanced benefits was in February. That's last month, where about 35 states had continued to pay the extra food stamp benefits through the month of February, and even some in March. This includes states like here in California, who are technically not paying out March benefits for SNAP benefits, at least not the expanded ones, but rather are paying out February benefits to the nearly 2,936,189 households, but they are paying it out on March 25th. So they're just paying them out a month later. So that is why some people are still getting the expanded benefits through the state versions of SNAP or CalFresh, even though it technically ended in February. But most of the other 35 states, including Texas and New York, will have paid out the last of the increased pandemic food stamps payments by their February end dates. This leaves millions of Americans in a quandary about how to continue to get the food benefits and the resources that they had access to over the last couple of years. Additionally, this has brought up some pretty creative solutions by state and federal officials to try to backfill much of those gaps that have been left by reduced benefits. The first one, and really the one I think is most interesting, is a program that is being called Food is Medicine. This is a novel idea that high-quality, nutritious foods actually affect one's health and can improve the health outcomes of a community. Profound, right? States like Arkansas, Oregon, and Massachusetts just received approval from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, that's CMS, who manages the federal low-income health program called Medicaid, to allow a portion of the state's Medicaid funds to pay for food programs, including things like medically tailored meals, as well as medical prescriptions for healthy groceries. In this program, the low-income individuals who qualify for Medicaid could be given a prescription, essentially, for fruits and vegetables as a medication for diet-related diseases and to help cure food insecurity. Now, back in November, another initiative by the USDA, that is the same federal administration that runs SNAP and food stamps, this program called the Produce Prescription Program awarded $59 million to states to test the rollout of food is medication type programs. This was authorized under President Biden's strategy on hunger, nutrition, and health initiative. And now, it is still a little too soon to see how any of these programs work or how they were going to be rolled out, and if they even reach the people who need the extra help, especially as the benefit cliff is ending now. But it is this type of innovative thinking that is one way that the current federal government and the administrators at SNAP are really trying to get creative to ensure that some of the neediest folks in our communities can continue to get the food benefits that are literally essential to life. So it will really be interesting to see how this works. But you know what? Not everybody sees the solution to diminishing food resource programs in the same way. This is apparent with a new bill that was introduced this week by Republican member of the House, Dusty Johnson from South Carolina, that was already been signed by 24 Republican members of the House, entitled the America Works Act. Now, this one is sort of puzzling, but it also sort of makes perfect sense why it's being released now. It's more likely that right now, rather than really being a genuine attempt at reforming food stamps and SNAP programs, it's more of a negotiation tactic by Republicans in the ongoing debt ceiling fight. Also, I mean, honestly, how seriously can you take a bill that only has 3 pages, including the title page? That being said, if the bill were to pass, it would really focus on cutting back some of those exact expanded enhanced benefits that the SNAP program had and were implemented during the pandemic. For example, it would raise the maximum age for work requirements that are required in order to qualify for the food stamps programs for beneficiaries who are able-bodied adults without dependents, or for short, ABA-WDs. It would raise the maximum age from 49 years old, which it is at right now, to 65 years old. Furthermore, it would limit the maximum length of benefits for ABA-WDs to get benefits to 3 months unless they work 80 hours a month or more, and it puts limits on states from being able to automatically renew some of those pandemic-era waivers, bypassing many of the normal requirements for eligible Americans to get food stamp benefits in perpetuity. So, as I mentioned, one of the reasons I think this is strange, especially for states like South Dakota, where Congressman Johnson is from, is that the state has a 2.1% unemployment rate. That is down from 7.4% last year, and it's still falling. So, with an unemployment rate that low and falling, I mean, the only people who are still on the sidelines in the economy in South Dakota are those folks who are really not able to work. And unfortunately, it's these groups of people who would most likely be punished if this bill would to pass. So, it is puzzling to create a law that really has no effect on your constituents. It doesn't improve the economy in your state, and really just kind of comes off as mean-spirited more than anything else. So that's Republicans' take on how to adjust SNAP and food stamp programs moving forward. Now, next up is basically the exact opposite, the counter-opposite type of legislation that is being reintroduced jointly by Representatives Barbara Lee out of California and Alma Adams out of North Carolina, who are both Democrats, that would, among other things, especially lift that 3-month limit on SNAP benefits for ABA-WDs. This is the last time I think I was saying this one. It's called the Improving Access to Nutrition Act. Now, their justification for removing this one provision in the bill forever is that the work requirements cause increased administrative bureaucracy that affects the number of people who are willing and able to get through the eligibility process and the cost to the state for actually processing them. Additionally, they mentioned that this type of limitation disproportionately affects people of color and potential households with children in them, putting some of the most vulnerable members of our community most at risk for hunger in an even worse situation. So we'll have to see how that one pans out as well. So overall, looking at the way that things are going to go for American families who have relied on pandemic benefits to get them through the last couple of years, and specifically with regards to food stamps and SNAP benefits, if nothing is done, and if there is no intervention by Democrats or by the feds or even by Republicans or somebody, these benefits are going to return back to the bad old days of the pre-pandemic levels. And to reiterate, that would be bad. There just isn't any other way to say it. Moreover, with the benefits boost that we saw, it shows what an increased level of support could do to improve the lives of our friends and of our family members and our neighbors across the country who maybe did need a little bit of help during the pandemic. Over the last years, the number of children who had been lifted out of poverty, the rate of hunger, and the saving rates for low-income Americans, not to mention their hourly wages, have all improved as a result of these pandemic measures. It is this reason that now it makes more sense than ever before to try to keep some, if not all, of those pandemic benefits because of the fact that it does improve the quality of life in America. It does help people to live with more dignity, and ultimately it is the right thing to do to help feed people who need it. But at this point, you know what? We're just going to have to wait and see how all this pans out right now with our split government and with the benefit cliff coming. And as benefits really start to run out, we're going to see some of these things change. All right, so that's it for Michael's Matters, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you found it interesting, you found it helpful, or hey, if you at least found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael. Hoping that you take care of yourself, hoping that you take care of others, hoping that you have a happy, healthy day.